This is awesome.
Oh, fuck. Hey. Good to see you among the living, man. Check it out. It's the latest talent mix.
Thanks, Pete.
Good to see you all among the living. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talon Mix, the Smallville recap podcast hosted by, what's this? The two most handsome Smallville podcasters? If you insist. I'm Brian, here as always with my pal Zach. Zach, what's up, man?
I mean, a decade ago, they had us, for sure.
But hey, it's now time for them to step off the throne and let us.
Yeah.
We'll share.
I mean, we are in our primes and they are just past them. So
And hey, let's do it with dignity. Let's the peaceful transition of power.
If Michael Rosenbaum, I know you're listening, if you could just tell all your listeners to come listen to our show instead. Because obviously it's time.
It's time. This is our most sacred tradition.
It feels good to be back in my own body, Brian, after last week.
What an adventure. What an adventure we had.
That was an exhausting time. Not bit, because it wasn't a bit.
Of course not.
If it was a bit, how terrible of a bit. Like one of the worst executed bits of all time. That's how you know it wasn't a bit.
Right. I think in general, hypothetically, not that we do bits, hypothetically, bits I always feel like are better in theory than they are in practice. I'm always like halfway through just like, why did we do a fucking bit? That said, I fucking love them. We'll probably do one again at some point.
Yes, I mean, again, that wasn't a bit.
No,
it was because if it was a bit, there's no way we don't re-record that before posting it. I mean, that was just embarrassing. If it was a bit. It's
woof. Went up a week late because I was like, oh, I don't want to edit that one. I don't want to go back in. I don't want to go back in there. It wasn't that bad.
No, I had a lot of fun with it.
Oh, man. How was your New Year's?
I fell asleep at probably 11:15,
okay.
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a non-event, which is fine.
Fair enough.
I didn't have to call the cops or anything on anybody, so that was nice.
There you go. We were kind of similar. We normally do stuff, but Emily is 8 months pregnant, so we stayed home. We made a lot of junk food, and just watched movies all night, and it was fun.
Awesome.
Went to bed shortly after midnight. This is, of course, posting 2 weeks after New Year's Eve, but it's right. In our time. It's just after.
Yeah, that's all that matters. So while we're on the subject of Emily being 8 months pregnant, next week we have an episode called Spell.
Yes, she'll be here.
Spell? Yes. Oh, she'll be here.
She'll be here.
Okay, I was going to say if she's not up for it, that's fine. We'll pick a different episode, obviously. But
no, she's agreed. She doesn't remember she agreed, but she agreed.
I think that's the one. That's the one we wanted to watch.
You're right. So I look forward to that. We haven't sold her yet on one, but I think this one might be it.
I mean, if ever a season is going to win her over, it's season 4.
Seriously.
So I saw on Letterboxd, because I stalk you on there, that you are in an effort to watch 365 movies this year.
Yes.
The year 2023.
Yes.
You have recently ingested a lot of early aughts rom-coms.
That is so let me real fast. This 365 movies, I think the day before New Year's Eve, we're like, what if we tried it? Let's see how well we do. We're going to be stuck at home a lot, holding a small human, a terrible screaming roommate. What's a thing we can do cheap that can be a little hobby thing? Let's try to watch 365 movies. It is January 3rd. The night we are recording this. We're currently 6 movies in. Or 7 movies now. We're just kind of like jamming them in.
It's like the same way people are hitting the gym real hard this week.
Yes. I have
March. You're not watching any
right,
movies.
right. I watched, so last year I watched 253. So I need to like
Wow.
do a little more. Um,
That's pretty good.
I don't, the way people like, I should say also like watched, I had them on and I was present for them, you know? Sometimes like while I'm working and I work from home, I'll throw
See,
movies on.
I don't log them on Letterboxd unless I'm sitting there watching them.
That's
Which
fair.
I'm not saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that disqualifies yours at all. I'm just saying that's why like mine is probably like 100 or less.
Sure.
But I watch a lot of movies, but I'm just sitting there. Like
Right.
I don't work from home, so if I did, I would for sure have, Batman and Robin playing in the background or whatever.
Right. I mean, that's exactly. I'm learning also Letterboxd. I'm enjoying, like, I've always wanted to keep a diary or like a journal, but I've never been good at getting into the habit of it. And it's funny, Letterboxd has kind of served as that. Like, I can remember like, oh, we did that day and we watched that. And like, here's the mood I was in. Like,
honestly, that's the reason I use it, as I would like to log what movies I watched, when I watched them, and I do the ratings because it's not like a definitive thing. It's like I want to remember how I felt about that movie when I watched it.
yeah, definitely.
The rating gives me a loose idea of what I was feeling.
Right. I love Letterboxd. It's great.
It's fantastic.
But yeah,
you're talking about the rom-coms.
Yes. So that is kind of we're trying to watch a lot of movies and we need to like, we want bulk, right? We're going to try to probably like watch a movie every day, but we want a little gap or a little space to play, right? And
right,
like,
in case a really good TV show comes out or something.
Exactly. So we just streamlined whatever fucking rom-coms from the early aughts came up on HBO Max, which turned into an accidental trilogy of Ashton Kutcher movies. Which, woof.
That's the only kind of trilogy of Ashton Kutcher movies. It's accidental. There's no Jude Where's My Car trilogy.
Right. But yeah, that has been an experience.
I mean, how did you put it in your Letterboxd review of it's the hot dog?
It's Joey Chestnut dipping the hot dog in the water to get him down his gullet faster.
That's the early aughts rom-com.
It's funny how there's like, I feel like they got a bad rap at the time. And I had this of like, everyone was like, oh, these are crap. And they were coming out every week, right? Of just two attractive people and they'll smooch at the end.
Right.
And maybe there will be jokes. Gotta say, not that many jokes.
More the suggestion of comedy than comedy.
And I kind of had in my brain, like, where did those movies go? And like, I kind of missed them. And like, oh, they went away because they're all pretty bad. They're frequently not good. It's like sometimes, even when they're not actively bad, they're not good. Like I watched Ashton Kutcher and Cameron Diaz in What Happens in Vegas. Ashton Kutcher and Cameron Diaz, guess what? Get married in Vegas. And then have complications, but get together in the end.
Spoiler.
I have some spoilers for a lot of these movies. And it wasn't unpleasant to watch like My Boss's Daughter was. But like nothing good about it. Nothing about it was like, that was a good movie. It was just, it happened. It happened and I didn't want to kill myself.
I mean, I can remember, this is that era when I worked for Blockbuster Video.
Extreme Blockbuster vibes in these movies.
Right. You would get X amount of free rentals a week or whatever. So whatever was coming out new that week, I would rent, because you get it like a week before it comes out.
Got it.
And I remember a lot of like poorly reviewed rom-coms I would get. You're getting them for free and you're watching them at home at 2 a.m.
Right.
It's like, this isn't that bad. I'm whatever.
Right. Yes.
Just roll with it.
Yes.
Yeah. If I saw them in the theater, if I paid for it, I'd been like, this is garbage.
Yes.
Right.
I think context is interesting of, looking at the reviews of like some of these things have like 7 to 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, right? Like just reviled. And it is different when like I spent $50 in my Friday night and went to see this thing.
Right.
Or even I drove to Blockbuster, picked a movie. This is my movie for the weekend, and this is what but there is a different context when I just threw it on, and it was on HBO Max, and we just like, whatever, this looks fucking stupid, and we put it on.
Yes. Yes, this is one of my free rentals, or this is on streaming for free.
It makes them more, and don't get me wrong, they're nothing. They're nothing. They're it's not. Just take what you picture a movie of, like they're a black hole of art, right? It's just what exists in the absence of art. That said, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say this phenomenon we're talking about is like probably led to me recommending a lot of movies that weren't good at Blockbuster, because if you go in expecting garbage and you're like, oh, that was okay,
right?
For some reason in your head, that's like, I actually like that movie. That's a good movie,
right?
And then you recommend it to people, and they're like, "Why did you recommend that to me?" I'm like, "I got it free, and I watched it 2 in the morning." Sorry.
There's a certain kind of magic to that hour, and that circumstance. Sometimes though, with those aughts rom-coms, I watched. It's from 2011. Friends with Benefits. It's Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis.
That's not the Ashton Kutcher, Natalie Portman one.
No,
that's not the trilogy you watched.
No, we watched My Boss's Daughter, What Happens in Vegas, and Killers.
Oh no, Killers is like at the tail end of that. That's Katherine Heigl on her way down, right?
So what I said of like, they're kind of not that bad. Killers was awful. Killers was bad. But Friends with Benefits, there was No Strings Attached, which was Natalie Portman and Ashton Kutcher, which it's not streaming anywhere. I am curious about that one because it's what's his name? Ivan Reitman. Ivan Reitman. God, brain fart. And it's an Elizabeth Merriweather script. And yes. Elizabeth Merriweather was the creator of New Girl, which I really like. So I am, when that shows up, I'm not going to seek it out, but when it shows up on streaming somewhere, I bet it'll be fine. Yes. That said, Friends with Benefits, which came out around the same time, and I think critically was the more liked of the two, with a glowing 68% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, that's like... Rom-coms are kind of like slasher movies in the 90s. It's like if you get above a 30%...
That's exactly correct.
It's a glowing endorsement.
That's exactly correct. You know what? Mila Kunis is attractive. Justin Timberlake is attractive. They seem to like smooching each other in the movie. It was all right.
Great.
Made me laugh more than once, which I can't say for Killers.
How strange is it that Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher were both in movies about falling in love with your friend the same year, but not together, but in real life, they're friends who fell in love.
What's more heartwarming than that?
Great.
What happened to the Date movie? Just at watching these, there is this funny there was the idea that, like, you know, whether it's a date night for like a couple or like a date, you went, you saw a movie, it was kind of fluffy, there wasn't much to it, everybody in it was attractive, it was a little sexy, you know, you'd get some abs,
right, yeah.
You'd get somebody in a bra, you know, a little sexy. Those movies are gone, right? Like,
I mean, do people go to movies on dates anymore?
I guess
like
not.
Maybe Blumhouse movies or something, like,
right.
Like a light horror thriller, I think, is your best bet.
I guess it's just funny of the Marvel movies right now, and even Star Wars are just sexless. They are completely, utterly sexless.
I mean, Star Wars was always by design kind of that way. I mean,
I'm gonna get you in my lightsaber,
or leave it in the box.
Stormtroopers attack!
Or leave them in the box and never touch them.
But like Marvel, especially, of like where everyone is just jacked and hot, but like not, but
just
not
aggressively asexual.
Yeah. It was funny. It was shocking. Once again, Killers was a terrible movie. But there was a scene where Katherine Heigl is just in a bra and looks great for, and she's in it. Why? Because because the movie's supposed to be a little sexy, like, and it was just funny to watch. Like, oh, movies used to like do that.
Yeah. I mean, they do now, but it's like an indie movie that was in theaters for 2 weeks and then went right to streaming.
Right. But even that's like sometimes like that's like we're intentionally playing with sexuality rather than just it's a movie. They're all pretty. We got them half naked.
We want the movie stars to show us their bodies.
Turns out they're very attractive. And it's just funny that went away. I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily miss it. It's just interesting that it's gone.
I definitely miss there being more types of movies in theaters.
Yes.
Right.
100%.
I mean, like, a lot of them weren't good, but they were different kind of bad.
Right.
And then you got a different kind of good once in a while. So I don't know. There's just not much to choose from now.
Yeah.
It's like 3 flavors of ice cream.
Right. That's exactly it. It's the collapse of the DVD, right?
Yeah.
That's what kind of took it's I've referenced this interview so many times, maybe on this show before. But Matt Damon talking about how you used to be able to put a movie out and then the DVD would come out later and you could recoup some of your costs on the DVD. Now there's no DVD, the streaming rights aren't the same. And so you got to make it back on an opening weekend, so it better say fucking Marvel or Star Wars in the title.
Yeah. Yep. I've recently started buying more Blu-rays. I'm going the opposite direction.
I kind of am seeing the allure again.
Right. First of all, it's for me, and maybe it's my internet, it's unreliable. The quality of the streaming is unreliable. And I am a stickler for, if I want to watch a movie, I want it to look like the movie. I don't want it to be blurry. I don't want the sound to be off. And Blu-ray, I'm not rich enough to have 4K, but someday maybe. But right now, Blu-rays, are like $4. You can find them for like $4 or $5.
Yeah, definitely.
For great movies. So, I've been buying Blu-rays.
I think there's also something to like learning I certainly, like everybody else, the whole streaming thing was like, oh, we don't need these anymore. But there's something to like when it was all on Netflix, that was one thing, but there's something to like the impermanence of it now, where it's closer to like HBO, right? Where you don't necessarily expect that you're going to be able to watch whatever movie on linear HBO at any given time. Movies come and go. It's a rotating library. So there is something to, if I want to own this movie is important to me, I want to have it. You got to buy a physical copy.
I mean, I hate when I'm like, oh, I want to watch this American classic and it's not on any streaming service. Right. And I'm like, you know what? I should fucking own that movie. That's why I bought T2 recently.
Great.
Because I'm
great
like,
buy.
Several times I've wanted to watch it and it's not been on streaming. I'm like, I don't want to pay to rent it every time.
Right.
I want to watch T2.
That's what's funny though is like movie rentals used to be a part of like so many Americans' just weekly fucking thing, right?
It's a social hub on a Friday night. A video store.
And a rental was like what, $5 if you brought it back on time?
Depended, yes, kind of ish, somewhere around there.
But like that was a weekly thing. That was a thing people did regularly. And now there's something about I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just like something about a rental. It's like $3. Fuck that.
Right? Yeah. Well, because you're already paying out the ass for streaming services.
I guess that's it. I guess that's the difference.
It's like I think the frustration is I don't want to pay $3 and then next week it's on HBO Max.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck, I could have just waited. I remember, speaking of rentals, this is a huge part of my education as a cinephile. Was in the summers, the video store near us would have a $5 for 5 movies. But they were old. It had to be in the old section.
Sure.
And my mom was, in the summertime, like just looking for a reason to keep me busy. Just bring me to the video store and just boom, 5 movies a week. just and I would go right through them, and we'd come
God, I
back and
missed the
get
video
more.
store. God, I missed the video store.
Yeah.
That whole experience was so important. And you know, I don't know if I've talked about this on the show before, but I was semi recently my wife's family, there's a couple little kids in that family. And I was asking them like, "Oh, what are your favorite movies?" And they all said fucking TV shows. Because I think there's an element of like movies are expensive. No one's going to the fucking movies, right? You go to the movies. The average American sees one movie a year, I think, in theaters.
Jeez.
Yep.
I'm bringing the average up, Brian. We're both bringing the average way up.
And then movies were the thing on the disc, right? Or the tape. In our case, in our childhood,
Right.
It's like
Right.
the movie was a thing. It was on a tape, and you put it in the VCR, and like that was the movie. Or you went to Blockbuster and you went and got. That was different from TV. That would like just, but like for kids these days, it's all on the same fucking Netflix hub, right?
Right.
What's
Yep.
the difference?
It all looks the same.
And then fucking forget about the Marvel shit and like where it's all kind of connected and basically a big TV show anyway. It drives me nuts. The kids these days.
I ran into some friends I hadn't seen for a few years, and they're like, "Oh, we should talk about all the good TV that's on." And I'm like, "I don't watch TV anymore, really. I just watch movies." And they were just like, "What is wrong with you?"
They don't get it.
They were like, "White Lotus. I'm going to talk about White Lotus." And I'm like, "I haven't seen any White Lotus. I'm sure it's great."
I saw White Lotus. It was fine. You know what it would have been better as? A fucking movie. It would have got to the fucking point faster.
Movies. Give me movies.
I don't think there are very few TV shows where I don't think they couldn't just be. I think Breaking Bad's great. Better as a movie. Just be a movie. It should be a movie.
That's the thing is if you watched like a movie that was made anytime before the last 10 years, like really great movies, you're like, today that would be,
Yep.
they would make that as a 8-episode show.
Yeah.
And in most cases, I'm like, that would not be better as an 8-episode show.
No. Mare of Easttown. I actually enjoyed Mare of Easttown a whole lot. Should have been a movie.
I think it would have been just fine as a movie.
Yep. I'll give some like Game of Thrones is a soap opera and is too sprawling. I think that is multiple storylines and like that would not have worked as a movie. And then but so there are of course exceptions. But I think it should be a movie or it should be like Monk, where it's just a mystery that's solved in an hour.
Well, I mean,
The Simpsons.
Yeah.
End of list.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can be Monk or you can be The Simpsons. You can get the fuck out of my face.
The problem is a lot of stories, like books or just stories that are adapted to TV shows. It's like, it would be good as 4 episodes.
Right.
Or 5 episodes. And like, well, you can't, we got to do 8 or...
Right.
And then there's filler. There's always filler.
Right.
There's always filler. And then there's the matter of if a story doesn't naturally have, it's not broken up into 45-minute chunks. It's
Right.
like, where do you break it? Are you just randomly cutting it off?
Which is what it
Midway
feels
through?
like sometimes.
Yeah.
I also, it's, and there, of course, obviously there are exceptions. But like TV is also largely, I think, created for efficiency, I guess. You know, it's kind of, for lack of a better word, and once again, this is very broad, but like get in front of the fucking camera and read your lines, which is what most people care about. But I love the whole package of film, right? Of like who the DP is matters, who did the score matters, like all of that stuff that goes into a fucking movie.
I think you came up with the best definition I've heard, which is a movie is something designed to be watched in one sitting.
That's it, baby.
That's the main difference.
I like it.
I think that's the best definition.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I gotta say, I like short stories better than most novels.
Love me a short story.
I'd rather have a short story collection than a novel. I like a simple, get to the point. I find them usually more complex frequently. There's a lot usually going on in that space. I don't need all the space. Give me the kernel of the point.
So, speaking of movies, I watched a couple this week. I saw Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Nice. I liked that.
Me too. Very funny. Very funny. I thought that the satirical comedy stuff worked a lot better than the thriller stuff.
Sure.
Because I'm not going to spoil it, but I think I figured out what's going on almost right away.
Oh, did you? It
like,
got me. It totally
oh,
got me.
no. I was like, well, okay. Spoilers for Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Okay. Stop listening for 60 seconds.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
It was pretty apparent to me really early that none of these people seemed like killers. Like
Sure.
none of them were going to be killers. So I kind of deduced. I was like, oh, I see what's going on.
Sure.
But it's still fun. It still worked on all the comedy was so fucking funny.
Definitely.
Man. And the acting, the performances were fantastic.
Rachel Sennott, is that how you pronounce her name? From Shiva Baby.
Yeah, she was the best. She was
just,
like I've met that person in real life.
Yes, just
so good.
Earth-shatteringly funny.
Yes, a transcendent performance.
Yeah, there was, I saw that one in theaters. I haven't thought about it much since I saw it, but just had a really good time on the ride.
Yep, absolutely. And then I watched Pearl, the sequel to X, or prequel to X.
Right. I saw X. I didn't love it. What'd you think of
I
Pearl?
liked Pearl about as much as I liked X, which is I thought it was B, solid.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a weird movie.
I like weird.
Yeah, you might dig it. It's
all right.
It's a lot different than X.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a period piece. It's amazing that it only cost probably a few $1 million, but it does not look like that. It looks like it costs a lot more than that. It's pretty impressive.
Okay. It's kind of impressive overall that like X came out and everyone was like, X garnered, some buzz. It was a movie people were excited about. And then just as people, like, I think overall people really enjoyed X. And then they just dropped, we already like shot a prequel. We shot them simultaneously.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild.
So, like, I guess only like a smaller movie like that can pull that off.
Yeah, it doesn't look small. It's amazing. I mean, it's impressive.
Yeah.
And then I rewatched the Batman for the first time since theaters.
Oh, how'd it hold up?
Good. Gosh, the visuals in that movie are
it's so good. I've seen it 3 times. I
delicious.
love it.
Delicious. Yes. Yeah. I think it's fantastic. Yeah. I think it's a little bloated, but that's it. That's my only major.
Yeah, the script is not my favorite. There's so much good stuff in that script, but
yes. They just needed to tighten it, just a little tightening.
Let me add it, with like
yeah.
And granted, like I could use a chainsaw, not a
yeah.
What is it? What's the word? The scalpel? A chainsaw, not a scalpel.
There's so much good shit in that movie.
Yeah,
that car chase is exceptional.
I fully I talked to a lot of people who didn't like it, right? And I kind of can't begrudge them because it's 3 hours and it's not one of those movies where it's not Titanic where like every minute moves everything forward. There's a lot there that's like, no, I kind of can't blame you. But
yeah,
ooh, the good outweighs the bad, I think, in that one fucking a lot.
I mean, it really nails for me the Batman tone. It really nails Batman.
Yes.
Which is an elusive thing. I mean, obviously, you ask 10 different people, you probably get 10 different answers. But I think
my answer is the Batman.
Right? It really hit this. It's not my favorite Batman movie, but I really think that is very true representation of the Batman character.
Yes.
And it has a good message. And which a lot of Batman fans are what's the word? Toxic incel types.
Yeah.
And the movie is about that. It's about Batman accidentally inspiring those types and reckoning with that. And I think that's great.
It's great.
It's great. It's instead of like, the Zack Snyder. Oh, look how Batman punched that guy and flipped him over. That's cool.
Right. I had one other Batman thought, but it is gone from my brain. Good movie. Anything else this week?
That's it so far. Yeah.
I had on top of the rom-coms, I had two more recent movies. I watched Bullet Train from earlier last year.
Yeah.
Which is directed by the guy who did Deadpool 2 and the uncredited co-director of the first John Wick movie. And of course starring Brad Pitt, and everyone in it looks like they're having fun. I just wish I was there with them having fun, like,
I mean, it is exactly the kind of movie I'm talking about. If I got for free at Blockbuster and watched it 2 a.m,
yes.
I'd be like, I had fun.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. I think it definitely would have been my favorite movie if I saw it when I was 14. Like, it would have hit every weird anime kid. Yeah, this is movies.
Yeah.
On my couch at 2 p.m, just on let's throw on this. It was fine. I also saw Noah Baumbach's White Noise.
So I this last year read the book White Noise for the first time.
Okay.
So I have not seen the movie yet, because last time I watched a movie on Netflix, the picture quality was fucking awful.
Oh.
So, but I read the book. It's a great book. It's a book that you read and you go, that's not a movie.
It is infamously. I was not familiar with it at all. I had never even heard of it. But I'm a dummy. Let's be clear. I'm a Luddite.
No.
Because it's a very famous novel, and it infamously unfilmable is what I've read in relation to it. So I saw the movie, and I'd say Baumbach doesn't make an argument that it is filmable. It's one of those movies that makes you go, what the fuck was that?
See, and I haven't seen it yet, but my feeling is that even if it's not good, it's made by such a talented filmmaker that it's interestingly bad.
I liked it. I'll say I liked it. I'm not saying it's
when
good.
Great filmmakers miss,
yes,
it's almost as interesting as when they hit. You know what I mean? It's almost.
It's kind of it reminded me of even though they're not similar at all. Did you see Darren Aronofsky's Mother?
I turned it off.
I think it's a terrible movie, but I kind of couldn't look away from it. And it was interesting, talking to people about, did you like Mother? I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Besides the point.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel about this too. Of I don't know, I couldn't look away from it.
What's crazy is that this is it was $100 million plus production.
It is a very expensive looking movie.
I mean, it would have to be if the story's like the book. I mean, that's the thing is it's like an unfilmable novel, but it tricks you into thinking it could be a movie at certain points because of the grandeur of what's going on and the situation. But it's like the setup for a much worse movie than it is a book.
It was a really weird fucking movie.
Well, it's one of those books. It's a great book, not because of what happens in it.
Right. It's kind of
what I mean. The writing.
Right. My understanding it's like one of the postmodernist examples.
Right. Yeah.
I'd be curious to read it, but I'm done.
Yeah, it's a good read. Very readable.
Okay, that's good to know. I'll throw.
Yeah, it's not a slog. It's not one of those great books. That's a slog.
Great, that's good to know. I'll put in for it at the library, and with a movie just coming out means I won't get it for 8 months, and then by the time I finally get it at the library, it'll be like, why the fuck did I want to read that?
I wonder who reads the book on tape.
Oh, that's a great question.
It'd be cool if it was Adam Driver.
Adam Driver would be great, and a great audiobook narrator. Adam Driver, I know you're out there listening. Go do some audiobooks. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. I know you're looking for work.
Right? Let's see. Anything else about pop culture this week?
Just Smallville pop culture.
Just Smallville, baby. Let's move on to the recap.
His power of persuasion can control the strongest mind. Chuck. Smallville, Wednesday 9.
This week we watched Jinx. Jinx is the 7th episode of the 4th season of Smallville and the 73rd episode overall. It aired November 3rd, 2004. What did you overall, big picture thoughts? What did you think of this episode?
I thought it was fun. Fun, middling season 4 episode.
I agree.
Of Smallville.
I didn't find it unpleasant at all. I don't think it's going to make the top tier. I don't think it's going to get nominated.
No,
but like,
there's a distinct lack of both Lois and John Glover that is hard to come back from.
Very true, but I found it very likable. I think we're in a very good season 4 swing.
Right. If I was flipping through the channels like no one does anymore, and I came on this episode, I'm watching it. You know what I mean?
Yes,
yeah.
Fully agreed. We're just getting, and this is what's exciting about season 4 is just platonic ideals of episodes of Smallville. Like all the stuff you want in an episode of Smallville is showing up. Obviously, aside from John Glover and Erica Durance.
And also they're well crafted episodes. And that we're really hitting the beats. Like they're not. It's like this week. It's not a compelling story or anything, but
right.
But it's like it's very well crafted, exactly what it's supposed to be.
Yes, and doesn't feel as much like season 3. I don't know about you. Season 3 constantly felt like you could see the wires of moving storyline footballs.
Yes.
It feels a little more either there aren't as many or it's more subtle, but I don't know which. But I'm just having a good time with my buddies at Smallville High.
Yes. I mean, it is once again a high school show.
Right.
I wish it had stayed a high school show for 2 and 3. Because now they're going to graduate from high school and it can't be a high school show anymore.
If only. Okay, so I'm, of course, reading from smallville.fandom.com. It is the deciding game to see who will go to the state championship, and the Smallville Crows are trailing when assistant coach Jason Teague sends Clark Kent in. Chloe meets Mikhail MixelPickLick. Mitsapitzik.
Brian, well, let's just stop right here.
Yeah.
I did not look into this because I refused to do research, but there's no way this guy is actually from anywhere but Vancouver.
No,
British Columbia, right?
This is Vancouver Central Casting, and can you can you do
accent,
like
the accent? It's not convincing. Is that
can you
nice
do
way
a vague? Can you do a vague Baltic accent? Duh.
It's Brian, what on earth possessed the Smallville writers to write this character with an accent?
It would have been okay to just not. You could have just.
Yeah. You could have still had the same backstory, essentially.
There's really nothing here that requires. So it's Mr. MixelPickLick. Mr. MixelPickLick. I'm not going to be able to say it better. He's a Superman villain from the 5th dimension. He's a little guy who comes in and he causes trouble, and Superman can only get rid of him by making him say his own name backwards, and then he poofs back.
I didn't know it was based on something.
Yes. But that's Mr. MixelPickLick, who is nothing like Mikhail MixelPickLick. They'll make a reference to his name spelled backwards later. But once again, I don't know why they made him Mr. MixelPickLick, or why they're doing this Baltic accent.
I don't want to seem like I'm picking on this guy, this Vancouverite. because I'm not. I feel like anytime you have an actor do an accent, it's always a high risk, low reward
Seriously, that's exactly right.
situation. I feel like 95% of the time when I see someone do an accent, I'm like, you could have just not, and I
You
would have
could
been
have
fine.
just not. Simon Pegg can
Like-
just be British in movies.
Right. I mean, there's so many movies where it's not integral to the plot. It
Right.
doesn't even, there's no plot hole, even if they have no accent, and they still do it. What's the movie 5-Year Engagement? Have you seen that?
If I have, I don't remember it, but it sounds
It
familiar.
was the Emily Blunt, Jason Segel rom-com.
Okay. Yeah.
Allison Brie plays Emily Blunt's sister in it. And Allison Brie, I'm a huge fan of Allison Brie.
Love her.
So good. So good. Her accent in that movie is atrocious.
Oh.
She does a British accent.
Oh.
But the movie takes place in America. You could have written that off. I mean, like one line of dialogue. They're half sisters.
Right.
Like, which is, I think it's what they do in a different movie where Emily Blunt has a sister called Your Sister's Sister, where there's an American actress playing the sister, and they're like, we're halvesies. There's no need.
There's no need.
Do you think does the actor like want the challenge, maybe, or
I think that's commonly it.
It's so risky, and it rarely pays off. Rarely.
I'm echoing back pretty bad.
Okay.
Are headphones an option?
We get the headphones.
Great. Trying to remember to take notes when we break so that I'm not just scrambling through the audio like, where is it?
All right.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, let's see. Chloe meets Mikhail MixelPickLick in the deserted field house and bets $80 on Smallville to win, and Mikhail accepts her wager. They both return to the game where the Crows are on defense. Mikhail mutters to himself, and the Crows player drops the ball. Clark saves the fumble, but when Mikhail says trip, he stumbles into another player and over the touchdown line. The Crows win the game, but Clark is horrified to see that the player he fell into is injured. So, some things here. All of this celebration while someone is injured would not be seen as okay, I think, at a high school football game.
Well, like celebrating like an inch away from where the injured person is.
Seriously.
It's like the real tasteless part.
It's Jason Teague would be like, everyone shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Also, the player, one of the injured guy's teammates looks at Clark like, how dare you? That also I don't think would happen. It's football. People tackle each other.
This does, in fact, happen pretty commonly. My brother, who is a football coach, was talking about, it's interesting, now in like high school sports, medic stuff has gotten a lot more like they take a lot of precautions. So like a kid is down, they leave him down, they bring the medics out. So they are being much safer and taking much more precautions, but you are seeing more medics come out onto the field.
Right.
Which is a weird image.
Yes. Yeah, it's a dangerous sport.
It's a dangerous sport.
So this opening just reminded me of something I hated about TV shows of the era. And that's where something big happened at the end of last week's episode
Yup.
that no one fucking mentions at all this week.
There is one little mention. There's one little mention,
Yes.
but that's it.
But there's no lingering awkwardness between Clark and Coach Teague.
Right.
And if you'll remember last week, Lionel, when he was in Clark's body, quit the team.
Right.
And forced himself upon Lana, who is Jason Teague's girlfriend.
Yep.
But everything's cool. Everything's fine.
I do think it is interesting. I do think we are course correcting a little bit from season 3, which was very, very interconnected. And I imagine there was a mandate from on high, whether that's on the show side or the network side. Like, we kind of want people to be able to come in and see the show and not have to.
Yes.
Because I also don't think DVDs are like show DVDs are widely available yet, right?
They're available, but this is when they're starting to pick up steam. This is like
Okay.
But the thing is, they don't come out until
Right.
they come out after the season, and not all shows have caught up yet with their DVDs.
I remember my mom and I watching 24. We got into it in season 2. So in the middle of season 2, so we were going to Blockbuster, getting the DVDs for the first season because we got hooked on the show, but we're also watching season 2 simultaneously. But there's no way to watch the previous season 2 episodes, so we're reverse engineering. Which it's funny, in 24, for all of its like heavy serialization, it's actually pretty easy to reverse engineer. Oh, don't worry, they'll tell you.
Yeah, previously on 24.
Also just in dialogue, over and over.
Yeah.
No, I'm the exact opposite of you. I miss this era of TV so much. Bring it back.
No, I love this era of TV also, but that was one thing I didn't appreciate at the time.
Sure.
I remember being like, what the fuck? Like, there's an episode this season where a major character in Clark's life dies, and the next episode, no mention.
Nothing. Clark goes to see the player at the hospital. Jason tells him that his collarbone is shattered, but he will recover. Clark feels guilty, and Jason starts to question Clark's remarkable football skills and his ability to overpower someone who outweighs him by 100 pounds. He specifically is a little worried about the collarbone, which I played football. I played Pee Wee football. There were collarbone injuries. It happens.
Right.
It's not that insane.
Like, it looks like the whole Crow team is at the hospital when this like they're at the hospital like this kid is dying. He broke his collarbone. Like common football injury.
Oh man, can I tell you a heartbreaking Pee Wee football story?
Oh, depends on how heartbreaking.
Not that heartbreaking.
Okay.
It's medium heartbreaking. So it wasn't my team. It was one of the older teams. But there was a kid who his parents were not together. So he was on the football team, but when he was with his mom and the games were on the weekends, he wasn't allowed to go to the games. He was allowed to go to the practices with his dad, though. So his dad would bring him to the practices, and he would do the practices, but he never got to go to the games because his mom didn't like it. This one game was coming up, and he was going to get to go, and he was going to get to play. At practice, he broke his fucking collarbone.
Oh.
And my mom was a nurse and went over to help when he went down, and the kid's only word on the ground was, "I was gonna get to play on Sunday."
Oh. Heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking. Sports.
So little late in the game for Coach Teague to be asking these questions about Clark.
Are you on steroids, Clark?
And I love how the Clark's dilemma of this episode is that one of them is that, the coach is starting to think maybe he's on steroids. And he's like, I'm not on steroids. But he is cheating. He is stronger than he would be if he was a normal kid on steroids. By 1,000 times.
Yes. Clark, you are in fact doing a bad thing, though.
Yeah, you literally are faster than bullets being fired. And stronger than like freight trains. Like you are in the wrong.
I didn't even think of that. Like, Clark, you may as well be.
Right. Just like, I'm not on... what? I don't need steroids. I'm already a superhuman.
I'm fucking Superman.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Jason admits that Coach Quigley thinks Clark is on performance-enhancing drugs and tell Clark he better submit to any questioning if he wants to preserve his college football career. To which Teague says something to the effect of like, "Be ashamed to forfeit a championship-winning season." Which is that what would happen? If a kid,
yeah.
You think? My brother would know.
Yeah,
but he wasn't available tonight to record a Smallville podcast on short notice.
Gosh, he thinks he's so cool.
Okay, all right. I guess it makes sense that could happen. Either way, this is as ridiculous as this is. It is a fun little like wrench in the gears for Clark.
Yes.
Okay. Lex is meeting with Mikhail, who is a foreign exchange student from the Balkans area that has been awarded a Luther Corp scholarship. Lex questions why Lionel would award Mikhail with such a prestigious award because he is a barely average student. He asks what potential Lionel saw in him, and Mikhail replies that it's potential that doesn't show up on a report card.
He has superpowers.
But also, it's just one of these show kind of problems where the conversation stops the minute the camera's not on them. Like, it's the kind of talent that's not on a report card. So...
Right.
So what?
Brian, this episode ends on the biggest, most egregious example of that.
Yes.
In the history of this show.
Yes.
I was outraged at the ending of this episode. Outraged.
The cameras go away and everyone just goes, "Oh, okay, our conversation has ended."
Yeah. How did they get out of that conversation? We're going to come back to this at the end of the episode because it is so frustrating.
Mikhail goes to the Smallville Torch office to talk to Chloe. She reveals that her bet was part of her investigation into a high school football betting ring, and she wants Mikhail to give her an exclusive. He agrees if she can keep his name out and places a large bet on the Metropolis Sharks game. Have you ever fucked with sports bet? Have you ever fucked with sports betting at all?
Not really. Like maybe a handful of times in my life, just like a bet with a friend for like a $1 or $10 or something. The only other time is I was in Vegas and my team, the Portland Trailblazers, were playing in a playoff game the next day, and I put like $20 down or something.
Sure.
They did not win.
I feel like I'm ready for a gambling addiction, but I never win, so I'm never like I just always lose. So
yeah. You don't get that. You don't get the thrill.
Right. I did finally download like on the World Cup. I put a little money on that through like the one of the apps, which I don't think is maybe good for society. Like, I don't think it's a good thing, but I don't have a gambling problem. For $20, I really cared about the World Cup.
Right. It is a fun way to buy interest into a sport that you normally don't give a fuck about. Yeah.
I think it's just like I've also like thought, I haven't done it, but like I sometimes like maybe like once a year, usually not even in the last couple of years. I like to go to a casino. But like I said, I never win, so it's a lot of like me hitting buttons and just my money going away, and then me just kind of walking around until my friends are ready to go. But part of me thinks like going to like the sports book putting a bet down, and then that's like 2 hours where you can like have dinner and drinks, and then like, hey, maybe we'll win a little money, you know?
Right, watch the game and have a rooting interest.
Right, rather than go to the slots or blackjack and just like, oh, my money's gone. My money's gone again.
Right.
My money's gone again. Once again, I'm ready for a gambling problem. I'm ready for it. Just give me one, a scratch-off ticket. Nothing. I've never won shit. I'm all right at poker. That's it. But here,
I usually do pretty well at poker, but I'm not good at it, which is weird.
Honestly,
I just luck into winning hands.
Yeah, that's here's my poker strategy, everybody. Let everybody else fuck up. I just play my cards. Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
My strategy is that I know so little about strategy that everything else they're doing to try to fuck with me is totally ineffective.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on. I'm not paying attention to what anyone else is doing. I'm just looking at my cards and like, do I think these are good?
Right. It's it is funny with poker it is, from my understanding, I am a incredible novice, let me be clear. But from my understanding, it's so much more a math and probability game at a very amateur level. It's just playing your odds, right?
Right.
Do you have good cards or not? Any attempts at like the bluffing and stuff, you have to be so aware of the probability to even start bluffing. So usually the people you're playing with at your table really don't even know the game well enough to actually be bluffing
Right.
or strategy. So
Yes. Exactly.
but I do always enjoy it. I'm always an asshole though, and I always like when I do win at poker, I'm always like drunk enough that I'm like, let's put it all in the pile. We'll put it all in the next hand. This was fun. So basically, play poker with me. Okay. Oh, also, just one more tangent. If you want a great game that is basically poker without all of the probabilities and stuff, there is a game called Skull. It is just the bluffing parts of poker. Highly recommend. It is. You can play with a deck of cards, but there is a beautiful, pretty cheap, like $20 game. It is called Skull. Also, Skull and Roses, I think, in Europe. Highly recommend. It's great. Played a lot of bars.
Skull, all right.
Okay. Jonathan confronts Clark about injuring the player, saying that Clark is being irresponsible by playing. Correct. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Clark tells Jonathan that football means a lot to him because it helps him forget all his burdens. And Jonathan objects, saying there is more to life than championship football. Yes. Clark says something happened to him on the field that wasn't his fault because he is sure he can control his abilities. Jonathan says he's going to talk to Coach Quigley at the victory party and tell him that Clark is quitting, but Clark says it's his responsibility. So Johnny K said, like, I'll be the bad guy. I'll be the reason you can't do it. Does Clark intends to quit, right? He intends to do what his dad says, or does he?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the vibe I got.
Right. At the party, everyone's spirits are high, and Clark is the star of the celebration. Coach Quigley makes a rousing speech about how Clark will take them to win the championship, and Clark winds up not saying anything to him. Also, hoo boy, this would be a way to rouse up a teen boy's ego to dangerous levels. Don't talk to a teenager this way, even if they are incredible. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I mean that this is frequently what happens with young athletes that are treated like gods.
Yeah.
It frequently doesn't go well.
Yeah. Don't do that. Keep it to great teamwork.
Yeah. Yep.
Mikhail is waiting for Chloe in the Torch office. She arrives with an armload of shopping bags. She talks about how exciting it was to win her bet, and Mikhail suggests she not spoil the fun and stop writing the article. Chloe replies that her story is getting juicier by the minute, and Mikhail pulls her close. He uses his power to force her to kiss him and tells her that she will stop the article. Chloe is left looking confused.
Nice little scene of assault in the middle of
Yeah,
this.
cool,
Light.
chill. Thanks, Mr. MixelPickLick. Now,
Yeah.
I guess these powers are like very, very short term. Things like trip, things like drop, things like kiss me, gross. He can't just be like, pull up article, delete article, lose interest in journalism.
That's true. Yeah. Oh wow. What a huge plot hole.
Right? Right? There must be.
Also,
a
I
reason.
feel like you could get rich so much quicker with that power.
I also had that thought.
Yeah.
The problem is, I think it. What you could justify is Chloe seems aware that like she does not want to kiss him, and even though she does it, so like even if you went to a bank teller like give money, even if they gave you the money, you wouldn't make it out the door.
Right.
But you could just be like, let me go. Let me chill.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't shoot me.
You could get pretty far with that. Yeah.
Give me helicopter. I don't know where a helicopter comes into this bank robbery, but I don't know. Seems like a good idea. Why not?
That's a good out.
Right? Clark is practicing his passes in the barn by throwing a football through a tire. He throws perfectly every time. He then takes a small shard of green kryptonite, closes it into his fist, and tries again. He misses this time. I also will eat a peanut butter sandwich anytime I really want to mute my abilities. Little anaphylactic shock really like levels the playing field. That's what I do before our podcast, Zach, so that we don't embarrass.
Oh, so that
Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum.
I have a chance.
Not you, Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, he misses this time, and Martha comes behind him and remarks that she's never seen him miss. She asks him why he didn't talk to Coach Quigley. And Clark says what do you think, Martha? Martha, you were there when they were all like, and Clark is our golden god. And all the cheerleaders are like, hi, Clark. You're like, why didn't you do that? Martha, come on. Think about it with your fucking brain.
I mean, it is extra dangerous with Clark that he's getting his ego pumped up because he actually has fucking superpowers.
Right?
Like, this is much more dangerous.
Seriously. Clark says he couldn't let the other players down. She notices his closed fists, and he shows her the shard. She is angry, saying he can't make himself sick to play. But Clark says that others play injured. Martha isn't budging. She tells Clark that no, they have never seen him trip, and Clark should find out what happened to him on the field. Clark is in the Torch office reviewing the plays of the game. Chloe comes in, and Clark is surprised when she allows him to stay, saying she's giving him the benefit of the doubt. This is the only light acknowledgement that he was a butthole last time, because it was John Glover. Clark tells her that, so why, I guess here's the thing, why do it at all? Why not just assume that all the amends were made in between? Like, you know?
Right, yes. Yeah, exactly.
So instead there's just this one line in there that's like, wait, what? What does that have to do with?
Yep.
Clark tells her that he felt like he couldn't control his legs, and Chloe tells her that Mikhail forced her to kiss him. They begin to investigate Mikhail's background, but a search of his name doesn't provide any results. However, Chloe searches his name backwards for some reason and pulls up an article about the region he is from. But like I said, the Mr. MixelPickLick thing is that when Superman gets him to say his name backwards, he disappears and goes back to his dimension.
Have you ever, when you were searching for someone on a search engine, if nothing came up, looked their name up backwards?
Here's the thing.
What is...
Everyone laughs at me every time, but one day, I'm going to get a hit like this.
Like, you need, it doesn't have to be a good reason, but you need some character logic for her to make that move.
Like, and it's just a bibbity boo of letters. Like, she may as well just slammed on the keyboard. He is from a long line of people who have a history of being able to control luck. But the only thing that stopped them was a plague of locusts. What? Does that play in? Did I miss something? Where's that?
Oh, you did. You did, yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay, I know where that's. Okay, got it.
Oh, it doesn't make it better knowing. Doesn't make much more sense.
Clark suggests that they turn Mikhail over to Luthor Corp because he is running illegal bets. He tells Lex that Mikhail's gambling, and Lex asks why he didn't tell Coach Teague. He says it must be hard for Clark to see Lana with Jason. Clark says he knows Lana is serious about Jason, and so he is dealing with it the best he can. Lex says he should do whatever it takes to win, both on the field and off. There's one Lex line, or sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You first.
There's a Lex line here about like maybe you don't care about Lana as much as you thought you did.
Yeah, I was gonna say the wiki. That's not quite what the scene was
Right.
about or what he was saying. He wasn't challenging Clark to do more. He was trying to plant in Clark's head, maybe she doesn't mean as much to you as you think she does, and maybe you should let me, a grown up, have her for myself.
A very grown man.
That was essentially what was going on, right?
Yes, 100%.
saying,
1,000,000%.
You should move on from Lana, maybe because you don't really care about her, but I do.
1,000,000%.
One day I will have. Yeah.
I clicked a link and I lost my place, but I'll get it back. I'll get it back. I'll get it back. Okay, Lex tells Mikhail that he is sending him back to his home country, but Mikhail uses his ability to make Lex let him stay. There's a line here where Mikhail is like, I bet you could pull some strings and let me stay. And Lex is like, yeah, but I'm not going to. Lex, just say no. Just say no, Lex. Lex, stop running your fucking mouth.
Also, the wiki is, it's not just that he uses his powers to make Lex change his mind. He's like, if we'll make you a bet, right? They have a bet on it.
Right. Right. Oh, here, wait.
They have a bet on the championship game.
We have that.
Okay,
here.
you have that. Okay.
He says if Lex wants to know what Mikhail can do, he can make a bet with him. If the Crows lose, Mikhail will get $1 million and citizenship. But if they win, Lex will find out about Mikhail's powers. Mikhail...
Can Elon Musk just give people citizenship if he wants to?
I'm sure... Here's the thing.
With a job or something?
Maybe there's that. Maybe, like, can grease the wheels a little bit, you know?
Right, that's true.
I think Lex Luthor would have an easier time getting someone's citizenship than Brian Miller, would. You know what I mean? Like,
how great would it be if you were an immigrant to the United States and someone's like, hey, how'd you get citizenship? And you're like, I won a bet with Elon Musk.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be great. There's a story there for sure. I'd tell that story at literally every single party. I would just like set up that bait of like, ask me how I got here.
Yeah, I just got here recently.
Sorry, I missed a paragraph here. Oh no, I missed so many paragraphs here. No, just the one. Lana and Jason are discussing Clark's possible drug use. Lana doesn't think Clark is using drugs. Jason doesn't either. But he confesses that he told Coach Quigley that Clark took a drug test and that it came back clean because he didn't want Clark to retaliate by revealing Lana and Jason's relationship. Lana says that Jason doesn't have to worry about her leaving him for Clark because she is serious about them.
Also, she says that he doesn't have to worry about Clark retaliating because Clark wouldn't make it personal, which is true. But she has recently met Lionel in Clark's body, and like, wouldn't she be like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck is going on with that psychopath?
Yes, that is what would happen on a show that made sense.
Also, the scene is interesting because at the beginning of the scene, Lana's like, why did you lie about the test? And he's like, because I trust Clark. And then at the end of the scene, she's like, oh, don't worry, Clark wouldn't retaliate. And he's like, are you sure you can trust Clark? Like, are you sure? It's like a weird...
Yeah, right.
Weird reversal.
So sorry, back to Lex and Mikhail. If the Crows lose, Mikhail will get $1 million in citizenship, but if they win, Lex will find out about Mikhail's powers. Mikhail then visits Clark in his loft. He knows Clark turned him in and tells him that he has a lot of money riding on the game. He says choke, and Clark starts gasping and coughing. As he suffocates, Mikhail tells him that he will play, he will lose the game, and he won't tell anyone else about him, or else more people will get hurt. Clark can't breathe until Mikhail tells him to as he exits. Chloe tells Clark...
I thought that was a good scene. That was a good scene.
It was good.
Well done.
It worked. Chloe tells Clark that the Locusts might have driven Mikhail's ancestors out by blocking the signals they use to control other people, like jamming a radio frequency. They hatch a plan to jam Mikhail's frequency so he cannot influence the game, but Clark has to leave to suit up. So this is where we get needle drop of the season so far,
good.
right?
Yes, I'm glad we're on the same page. Brian, I don't know if I could explain to listeners who weren't alive or of age at the time how big that fucking song was.
It was everywhere. I was fully in Green Day sold out mode. I was a Nookie and fan, or not Dookie. Nookie was a Limp Bizkit. I was a Dookie kid. But American Idiot, that whole album was everywhere, and that song was non-fucking stop. So this was a big get. Yeah. This is a big needle drop.
Oh, we should probably say what the song was. Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Yes.
That is the song. It plays while Clark gets ready for the game in slow motion in the locker room. Apparently, he's the only one in the locker room.
Yeah, right. Having
the
just
lighting is
so it's straight out of fucking Batman Returns or Batman Forever.
It's like a Gatorade commercial.
Yes.
He's just like suiting up, and that song fucking plays, and it's a long little scene of him suiting up.
It's a
slow
full
motion.
just like shoulder pads on, jersey on over that slow motion, going into the locker, shot of Old Spice, and I was
gonna say
that shot of Old Spice was too much.
Yeah, Brian, did you know that Old Spice is a thing? Because if you didn't, you would after this episode.
Old Spice has taken a deep interest in high school sports.
Old Spice Red Zone.
I think I've had that deodorant more than once at that time.
I use Old Spice.
Yeah.
Old Spice. It's not the original. It's whatever I don't know. I use an Old Spice brand, not Red Zone.
I doubt that's around anymore. Jonathan meets Clark outside the locker room, disappointed that he has chosen to play.
What are you doing?
You know what Mikhail said. He'd hurt those guys if I wasn't out there.
A bunch of 250-pound guys banging into each other on a football field is one thing. But getting hit by you's like getting run over by a freight train. It's a big difference, son.
I hope that doesn't happen. I think Chloe and I found a way to stop Mikhail.
Well, Chloe and you think you found a way to stop him. Well, I'm sorry, son. Thinking is not good enough.
Dad, I know you don't agree with me. But sometimes taking responsibility means having faith in yourself to make the hard choices.
And it also means being willing to accept the consequences.
Every handshake, every hug, every time I'm out on that field, I make a conscious decision to fall when those guys hit me so they don't get hurt. No matter how hard you try, you can't understand that. That's why it's my decision, not yours.
You're starting to sound more and more like your father.
Clark says it is his decision, but Jonathan still thinks he is making the wrong one. Clark points out that he has to make a conscious decision to fall during every game so that others don't get hurt. So Jonathan can't ever understand how much responsibility he is taking on. This is a good scene.
I do think that's a good few lines from Clark. A good argument.
Yes.
I mean, I don't agree with him playing, but in this situation I do, because he's gonna hurt his friends if he doesn't play.
So there is an element where like Johnny K is like, you're playing, and like, yeah, Chloe and I think we know how to handle it. Johnny K's like, you think?
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, Johnny K, let's maybe leave the monster stuff to Clark. He hasn't missed. Let's say that.
Right.
Like, we're on episode 73, and he got everyone.
Yeah, that's true.
I think after 73 bags, he's pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Okay, during the game, Chloe rewires the loudspeakers, causing Mikhail to hear a high frequency, which makes him cover his ears. He tries to influence the players, but it doesn't work. The Crows pull ahead, and Mikhail gets up to investigate. He finds Chloe, and they struggle. The Crows are one touchdown away from winning, but Mikhail appears on the field during a timeout. He shows Clark Chloe's press pass and tells Clark that if they score another touchdown, he will kill her. Just as the play is about to start, Clark x-rays the wall of the field house and sees Mikhail holding a knife to Chloe's throat. So he went in and out and then back in.
Yeah.
Is Clark the only one with super speed?
Also, I feel like Chloe, unless she was knocked out, she could have made a noise or something while he left.
Right.
You know?
Clark throws the last pass, super speeds off the field, shoves Mikhail into a locker, and cuts Chloe loose fast enough to reappear back on the field in the same position without anybody even noticing. The pass is caught, and the Crows win the state championship. The state championship was an afternoon game.
I think it's usually on a Saturday.
Right?
Yeah.
I get. Okay. All right.
But I don't know if it's a nighttime or what.
It's.
But there were a lot of little moments in that where I wrote things down to bring up to your brother about slight inaccuracies in the football representation, but I won't bore you with them.
I'll pass it on.
Yeah.
Okay. Clark gets back from the victory party after his curfew, but Jonathan and Martha let him off the hook. Jonathan acknowledges that it takes a lot of consideration for Clark to play with his abilities, and they are proud of him. They tell him that Mikhail was arrested. Chloe comes to congratulate him and tells him that she got the equipment from her Uncle Sam, Michael Ironside, and remarks that her bonds were miraculously untied. Clark, it's also funny, I gotta say, where did she get the radio scanner? Didn't even fucking think to have a...
No, I didn't care at all. But
didn't...
it's convenient that she has General as
I guess
uncle.
That's true.
That's cool. So we are entering a very fun, maybe my favorite Chloe phase, which is Chloe is starting to realize what's up with Clark.
Yes.
But instead of confronting him or like being weird about it, she's just having fun with it. She's just kind of like, all right, I'm just going to be the cool friend who kind of knows something's up, but she's not like upset about it anymore. She's like, okay, yeah, okay. Sure, yeah, no, nothing happened.
Right. Yes, we've got some great Chloe stuff coming up. Clark asks her about how she got sucked into the gambling scene, and she just says that everyone has her weaknesses. Which then she says, except for you. Which, is that a Nietzsche line?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
That's in the text. She's telling him, I know something is weird with you.
Okay. I don't know if that was a joke of like, he has a very famous weakness, but that weakness is also part of the show, you know? The kryptonite is literally used currently in present day Smallville. So like, I don't necessarily, it's not an allusion to, if there wasn't kryptonite regularly in like every episode of the show.
Right. Yeah.
That would be a Nietzsche line.
Yep.
That is his weakness in every episode.
Yep.
So Lex takes Mikhail to the Luther Court Plaza and they ride the elevator to a secure floor. Mikhail says he has lost his ability but Lex assures him that he is taking him to a place where it can be recovered, and that Mikhail will not be alone. The elevator stops at level 33.1. This
is going.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
That's the Candyman level, right? Like where Candyman was all like, "Oh no."
That was level 3, right?
Okay, you're right.
I think the implication is that this is an extension of that, but this level 33.1 is going to stretch over like the next 2 or 3 seasons.
Oh boy, howdy. Okay,
we're going back to this well a lot.
Great,
yeah.
Got it. And it opens on we don't actually see what's in it. We see Lex kind of like, yeah, we're going here.
Yeah.
Okay. At school, Clark asks Lana where Jason is because he's won a scholarship to Metropolis University, and Clark wants to thank him. Lana is short with him and informs him that Jason was fired this morning. As she walks away, Clark realizes that Lana thinks Clark is the one who revealed Lana and Jason's relationship. He goes to confront Lex, who initially claims their relationship was inappropriate. Clark is upset because the whole town is talking about Lana and doubts Lex did it for moral purposes. He questions Lex's motivation, but Lex doesn't answer. And then what?
No. He says, Clark says, a year ago, I might have believed that you broke them up out of some like misguided loyalty to me. He's like, but now I don't buy that. So why did you do that? And the episode ends on Rosenbaum kind of giving a weird smirk, and then it just cuts to black.
And then I'm sure it's not going to pick right up next time. What happened?
No.
What did he say?
How do we get out of that scene? How does that conversation end without him being like, I like Lana? Or is she just like, there's a phone call. Like what?
What?
Yeah, what
does he say?
That's cheating.
What does he say? The fuck does he say? Oh man.
I'm fully with Clark in this scene of Lex does try to gaslight him a little bit of like, he tries to be like, oh, I was doing it for her to look out for her. And Clark is like, you're full of shit.
Right.
You're full of shit.
Right. We got some big time featured music this episode. We got Walk Idiot Walk by the Hives, I Believe by Shiloh, Fall Behind Me by the Donnas, I'm All Gone by Boss House, Boulevard of Broken Dreams by Green Day, and Reach for the Sky by Social Distortion. It's hard to remember that there were any other ones beside the Green Day one.
Boss House is like in every episode.
Yeah, right.
So Green Day and Avril are the 2 nominees right now for Needle Drop of the Year.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I still have a feeling friends of ours named Lifehouse are going to come in at the final hour and snatch it away from them. We'll see.
We're still early, man. We got to wait for those like November, December ones to drop. We're not even in awards season yet.
No. Yeah, exactly. This is like of Dumpuary right now. We're
not even. Okay. No Lionel Luthor this episode. Okay. Mikhail MixelPickLick is Smallville's version of Mr. MixelPickLick, a foe of Superman in several comic stories. Mr. MixelPickLick is an imp from the 5th dimension. Not being bound by our physical laws, he could do things that seem to be magical. He is the 18th DC Comics character adapted to the series. Let's see. When Clark is throwing the footballs between the tire, he throws 2 balls and 2 are left. He then goes to the kryptonite. When he comes back, there is only 1 ball left.
What? The universe is collapsing.
Got him. Dudes. Did you just see if there's anything interesting here? We talked about the Old Spice and then didn't clarify further. Once you get onto the field, there is a giant I think there's a giant Old Spice Red Zone banner over the crowd at this high school football game. And then the scoreboard underneath that is also Old Spice Red Zone. This episode of this podcast is brought to you by Old Spice Red Zone.
A product you may or may not be able to purchase still.
I'm sure you can find it on eBay.
Wait, you can find deodorant on eBay from 20 years ago?
I'm sure. All right, motherfucker. You doubt me. We're looking this up right
now.
No,
I don't doubt you. I'm just saying don't put that on your armpit. If you I wouldn't trust it. What's the half-life of deodorant?
I'm going to see here. Honestly, first page, no, I'm getting a lot of Old Spice swagger. But I am not actually seeing Old Spice Red Zone. Wow, not a lot of deodorant collectors.
I'm a real deodorant head.
I'm gonna go. We have here stretch of the week. The football team throws the red Smallville Crows flag over Clark's shoulders, and it resembles a cape, further foreshadowing his costume as Superman. I guess if it's red.
Sure.
I guess. Okay, at the end of the episode, Jonathan says that when he played, I only had to worry about completing the next pass or whether or not I was going to get sacked, implying that he was a quarterback in high school. However, in the episode Hothead, the season 1 episode,
he's a running back.
When Clark was briefly trying out for the team as a freshman, he tells Jonathan that the coach gave him his starting running back position. It is possible, though, that Jonathan played as a dual threat quarterback or a trick play tailback proficient in throwing passes. Got him.
That's true. It's true. Yep, it's high school. He could have played multiple positions.
Yeah. Coach Quigley was last seen in Devoted. There is more revealed about level 33.1 in Volume 3 of the Chloe Chronicles. We have to watch the Chloe Chronicles at some point. A Chloe Chronicles bonus
as soon
episode.
As we get a Patreon.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I guess that's Clark asks what Locust can do besides eating crops in a single bound. Boo. Well, I guess that's everything. I guess we did it. Like we said, this is kind of just a fastball down the middle. It's a goofy one. I want some things to make fun of in a Smallville episode, Like that
for
goes
sure.
into a good episode.
I mean, last week, if it weren't for our body transformation, we wouldn't have had much to talk about because that was such a good fucking episode.
Right. For sure. Next week's going to be a good one. It's Spell. We'll get Emily on. I keep seeing the thumbnail for this one and it looks insane. Fucking buck wild.
I haven't watched it in a long time, but I know it was like a notoriously hated episode by the fans, but my take is that it is a legit good episode of Smallville. That's my take.
I can't wait.
I'm all aboard this episode.
Hell yes. Guys, this has been the Talon Mix. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining us. Hey, if you liked it and you can get your phone out and want to go to Apple Podcasts and leave a nice review, that'd be super nice. And then while you have your phone out after that, if you want to go to talonmix.show, you can find a link to our Discord and all of our other episodes. Thank you for everything. We appreciate it. Hey, Zach, do you have a question for the Smallville gods?
Yeah, I sure do. Will Emily, upon seeing the Smallville episode Spell, she won't, I don't think she'll admit it, but will she, in her head, consider watching more episodes of Smallville after that? Will she say, do I like this show? She's going to ask herself, maybe I was wrong. That's my question. Will that happen?
Good night, everybody.